schlep here on day 30 of my Appalachian Trail thru hike. This morning I left the no business shelter at mile marker 338 and I'm having a short hike about 6 miles into town, into Erwin, Tennessee. The hikes into town are always really nice. Your pack is typically a lot lighter because you don't have any food in it since you're going to town to resupply, and it's usually downhill into a gap. So we'll be pretty quick this morning. This week we're going to talk about food. So when I get to town, I'm going to clean up and I will bring you on my resupply run to show you where we get food and what we eat. I see town down there through all the trees, getting awfully close. I made it to Uncle Johnny's, was able to take a shower and throw in some laundry. The hostels that have these gorgeous loaner clothes are actually very much appreciated so that you can wash everything you have instead of having to wear like your rain clothes while you do your laundry. In an hour or so, there's a shuttle into town where we can go pick up some groceries and do a resupply run for our next stint. So I just checked the guidebook. The next place I'll be going is Station 19. It's 52 miles or so, so I'm planning on 4 days. So I made a grocery list of what I need to get me through the next 4 days that I will pick up in town. When thru hikers think about the food that they want to eat, technically, I mean, I'm at the point where I'm doing 20-mile days. I'm burning 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day. So technically you could eat that amount if you're trying to maintain your weight. However, all of the food that you're eating, you have to be carrying on your back, which is heavy, and you have to fit it in your backpack itself, which is no easy feat when you're also carrying your tent and your bathroom and your kitchen, you know, all with you. So typically you pack about 2 pounds of food per day, and you're looking for the most like dehydrated and calorie dense food that you can find. But even so, to get it all into 2 pounds, you're still looking at like 3,000 calories or so a day. So when you do go into town to resupply that food, you're also typically going and getting like burgers and pizza and fries and just trying to supplement some of those calories to put back in your body what you're expending on the trail. So I will bring my phone along and take some clips of the resupply and show you what I end up with. This resupply is going down at Walmart, which in my mind is like the holy grail of resupplies. You can get like anything and everything that you want. Anyone who knows me knows that I have a strange love for Walmart. Getting some fresh fruits and vegetables to eat while in town, but not necessarily actually pack out since they're too heavy. I don't have any on my list this week since we're at a larger grocery store and can find other calorie-dense food, but often things like honey bun is the thing to get at the smaller stores like Dollar General for a lot of bang for your buck for weight and calories. These Knorr pasta and rice sides are the perfect amount of calories for the weight that you have to carry, a hiker's delight for dinner. We will talk about the different ways that everybody chooses to cook them. Rehydrating potatoes and stovetop are also great options for tons of calories for very little weight in your bag. Pop-Tarts are another breakfast of choice, but again, since we're at a larger grocery store where we can do better than that, I'm going to stick to granola and breakfast essentials. Getting freezer bags is also essential, both to get stuff organized and to pour boiling water into to rehydrate some of the foods that don't come in the right packaging. Some trail mix comes pre-made, but if there's a lot of nuts and dried fruit and jerky, it's fun to make your own. All right, here's what we ended up with. For breakfast, we'll put granola in a bag with some breakfast essentials. So you just add water in the morning and boom, you have cereal. For lunch, peanut butter and dates in a wrap, and then some M&Ms and mustard pretzels to go along with it. For dinner, stovetop, potatoes, and 2 rice sides. I also have a few tuna packets left over from last week to mix in with them. And then snacks is a whole smorgasbord, 3 different kinds of bars, and then a make-your-own trail mix, and of course some chocolate. The bags are for portioning out some of the foods, like the granola into bags with the breakfast essentials or the make-your-own trail mix. Also, something like stovetop doesn't come in a container like this that you can just pour the boiling water directly into it, so you would pour it into the bag and pour the water in there to rehydrate. This is what 4 days of food looks like. Waiting for the resupply bus. All right, this is what the 4 days of food looks like broken down. When it's not in the boxes and packaging, it looks like a little bit less. So the granola and breakfast essentials are in here. So you just squeeze and add water to it in the morning for cereal. Make tortilla wraps out of dates and peanut butter with some extra snacks. This whole section is snacks throughout the day that live in my fanny pack for some quick grabs. Usually around lunch, I'll have a noon tablet for some electrolytes, and then dinner is these different dehydrated sides that I'll boil water and add to with my stove, and add a tuna packet for some extra protein. Day 31, officially 1 month on trail. Last night at Uncle Johnny's was super fun. I did get lured into town breakfast. Again, the fatal mistake of weighing myself down with food that sounds good at first, but then when it's really hot outside, doesn't sound so good to hike straight uphill. Leaving town, opposite of coming into town, you're leaving with the heaviest pack and doing a straight incline up to get back into the ridges. So about 17 miles to the second shelter. I don't think I'm going to make it there, especially leaving camp this late. So we'll see how far I get. Tonight's dinner involved dumping boiling water into a Ziploc bag of stovetop. It's actually delicious. Good morning from my tent. I still camped on top of Unaka Mountain last night with a couple of friends. It did get pretty cold and rainy, but I have mastered keeping the right things dry, and we had a nice fire, so it wasn't all that bad. Still raining now, so waiting it out a bit in my tent. Going to have breakfast inside, which is typically a no-no, so do as I say and not as I do. You should not have like food smells in your tent to try to keep bears and critters away from you. Today, I'll show you a day in the life of what a thru hiker eats. In town, I packaged granola with some breakfast essentials powder in it, in bags individually for breakfast each morning. So all I have to do is pour in some water and it makes a pseudo milk. I have one utensil with me, which is my spork, to stir it up and eat it. Spork cleaning happens with your mouth. Good enough. While I'm packing up in the morning, I'll also dig through my food bag and pull out any snacks that I want for the day, and throw them into my fanny pack. That way I don't have to pull my food bag back out until lunchtime. The sun is coming out.
Pop-Tart, sour gummy worms, birthday cake flavored Hershey's Kisses, breakfast of champions.
Hot tamales.
Hot tamales?
Yeah.
4 miles down means time for second breakfast.
What are you trying to make it to today?
Oh, frozen. Still haven't decided how far to go tonight. Checking signs as I go and seeing how I feel. So far, so good. Stopping about 8 miles in for third breakfast, morning snack, first lunch, whatever you want to call it. I listened to Carol's Tapestry album twice through this morning. So many good memes with my mom and sister, singing in the car, and then I switched to some 80s rock, so I've been cruising today. Stop for lunch, going for a peanut butter and date wrap with some pretzels and peanut M&Ms on the side. At lunch, I also load up my afternoon snacks into my fanny pack. Today, I'm going with a Cliff Bar as well as my own trail mix bag. It's dried apricots, nuts, jerky, and dark chocolate, which my friend told me was disgusting. So I have to caveat for you guys, since I'm making a food video, that I am anosmic, meaning I have no sense of taste and smell. So my food choices are pretty strange. But there's some more like creative foods that other hikers do, bringing different sauces and spices. So we'll talk to them to give you a more well-rounded view. Forever in a rhododendron forest. 19-mile day complete. I'm going to get camp set up here at Ash Gap and then start cooking dinner. Tonight I'm going to make this Spanish rice Knorr side for dinner. The recipe calls for 2 cups of water, but since I'm not boiling it on a stove and just rehydrating it with hot water, you actually need a bit less. So I'm going to go with about 1.5 cups of water. The bottom of the jet boil has a measuring cup which is convenient. There's 1 cup, and then we'll go for about half. Okay. I buy these fuel canisters while I'm in town. They last for a couple of weeks. You turn on the stove. Once you hear the gas going, you can light it. If it cooperates when it's windy, there we go. And then you put the pot on top. And cover it with a lid to let the water boil. The jet boil goes pretty quickly. While we wait for it to boil, I tear the top off of the rice side and I stick it inside of this little foil pouch, which keeps the heat from the boiling water in it as it rehydrates. So aside from only doing about 3/4 of the amount of water it requires, you also have to cook it for double the amount of time. So for this one specifically, it says cook it for 7 minutes on the stove. So once I pour the boiling water in, I'll give it 14 minutes to rehydrate in here, a little bit of a stir, and then it should be ready to go. When it starts shaking and the side of it turns orange, you know the water is boiling and ready to go. Pouring the water directly into the pouch. Now it's all sealed up with the boiling water in the pack and then in the foil pouch, and we let it do its rehydration magic. Rehydrated and ready to go. I prefer the method of boiling water and then rehydrating in the pouch because it's fuel efficient and there's no cleanup. You don't have to wash your pot if you just boil water, and the second you're done eating the rice side or potatoes, ramen, whatever it is, you can just throw away the bag and not have anything to clean up. Some people prefer to cook in the pot itself, which also works. Some people say they get the texture better or it stays hotter longer. The drawbacks to that, though, are that it's less fuel efficient since you're continuously boiling the water and simmering the food, and then you also have to clean your pot. Casual fireplace in the woods. A plaque said that there used to be a hotel here, so assuming this is part of it. A few miles in for the day, so you know the drill. Time for second breakfast. Stopped at Roan Mountain Shelter, which is the highest of all the shelters on the AT. It's pretty cold up here. Today's terrain has been really cool. Tons of rolling hills, but that also means a lot of sun. Seems like the second we stop for a snack or a bathroom break, it gets freezing, but the hiking has been warm. Nice change after being quite cold last night. Improvised blazes when there's no tree. Seeing lots on them on these wood sticks poking up out of the ground and also on rocks today while we walk through the hills. One of the cool things about these bald mountains is you can see exactly what trail you're about to hike on the hill in front of you. A little preview. There's a lot of fence crossings on the map today. Although they look kind of hilarious because they're these little rinky-dink fence, but then you look off to the side and they completely end. So they're not really keeping anything in or out. These are nonstop today. I changed my mind. I'd like them to be surprises. No more previews. Starting to drop in elevation a bit, coming down onto the hills, which is a good thing, about a mile from camp. And it's supposed to be another cold night, luckily not freezing again, but still in the 30s. So it will be nicer to be not at 5,000 feet elevation. I think camp is around 3, which saves us an extra 7 degree Fahrenheit or so drop in the weather. just got to camp and set up my tent for the night. There is a nasty stomach bug spreading around the hikers, I think probably from the shelters and the hostels, just being in close quarters and sharing food. I've seen it, I've heard it, I want nothing to do with it, so we'll be in my tent for quite a bit. When I left Erwin, Tennessee, I left with about 4 days of food, thinking 52 miles to the Station E hostel would be the move. However, we did it in 3 days. So right now we're camped directly outside of town and plan to walk in the morning to resupply. So in the end, I think I ended up packing out more like 5 days of food and then only eating 3. And even after sharing with a lot of friends, I am to the point where I think I still have like 4 pounds of food in here. In one hand, it's not so bad. That just means I'm not going to get a lot of food tomorrow during the resupply. But on the other hand, it's annoying because I've been carrying around this weight that I don't need to. And every pound counts when you're going up and down the mountain. So definitely something that I need to get better at. Initially, the plan was to go and stay at the hostel tomorrow, but it's actually only been 3 days. It'll be 4 tomorrow since having showered and done laundry. And in hiker terms, that's pretty fresh. So no need for that. Just going to run in to get a meal, catch up with some hikers, grab any spots I need to fill within my already relatively full food bag, and then press on. Hampton, Tennessee is only another 2 days or so, and at that point is when I'll actually break down to do laundry and shower.
Would you lose the other one?
A good trail friend has many qualities, but the best of which are the ones who make fire. When you can't taste, cleaning up is really just a game of what's on my spoon. Is it this morning's granola? Last night's Spanish rice? I don't know.
So this is my walking stick and my cooking station. I use my cat hole digging shovel as the anchor and the pivot point. It turns my walking stick into a crane. All the knots are taunt line hitches, so I can adjust them and whenever I want to get the correct angle. Also, this is a taunt line hitch, so I can adjust the height from the fire. It's all, I mean, pretty simple once you get the hang of it. So, you know what I mean?
What's for dinner?
Oh, this is Lipton cuppa soups that I got from a hiker box, combined with Hungarian goulash that I got from a hiker box. Neither of them are good.
Perfect.
But maybe together.
Nice.
We'll see.
What's for dinner?
Oh, this right here, this is Mountain House pasta with Italian sausage.
Do you usually go for like the freeze-dried meals?
Yeah, I do. They're pretty simple. They're a little pricey, but they're tasty most of the time.
Boil water, dump it in, good stuff. Let's talk food storage on trail. I started with a 20-liter Osprey dry sack, which has been great in terms of being plenty roomy, even for long carries. And it's also super lightweight. You're able to fold it down and make it smaller as it empties out, and it's easy to kind of squish in your pack wherever it needs to go. A downfall to them is that they're not critter or bear resistant. So you have to keep an eye on it during the day, and at night you have to hang it and get it out of your tent. You know, there's a bear could come and try to take it from your tent, but also even more likely would be something like a rat or a squirrel trying to chew through your tent to get to your food. Either way, not a good scenario. So there were a couple of shelters at the beginning of the trail in Georgia that had bear boxes, which was the most convenient. You literally flip the lid of a big metal box open, put your food in it, close it, call it a day. Haven't seen many of those since Georgia, but quite a few of the shelters do have cables. One cable attaches to the tree and another attaches to a cable that's strung between 2 trees. And there's a pulley system. So you attach your bag to it and string it up into the trees, and then it's high enough that there's a very low chance that bears are going to be able to shake it down, although it's not completely unheard of. If you're going to be camping at a shelter that does not have any cables or a bear box, or if you're at a stealth campsite, the move is to hang it from a tree. So you would take a line, usually 50 feet is what people start with. Sometimes they have to cut a bit of it off if it gets stuck in a tree. To one end of it, you attach your food bag. To the other end, a rock, a stick, a water bottle, really any kind of weight, and throw it over a tree and hoist it up yourself. little easier said than done. Slowly getting a little better at it, but sometimes if it's like dark or rainy or you're just exhausted at the end of the day, it's really easy to just like throw a rock and then get hit in the head with it instead of it go over the branch. So kind of a pain. The two other options that I've seen on trail, there might be more, for food storage are bear canisters and the Ursack. So a bear canister is probably the safest in terms of a bear not being able to get into it, and it's easy because you don't have to store it in anything. You just simply walk away from camp, walk away from your tent, and you just place the hard cylinder, next to a tree, away from where people are sleeping. And bears don't have the dexterity to open it or pick them up and carry them. But the downfalls to those are that they're like a hard plastic, they're quite heavy, they're awkward to fit in a bag, and they limit you in terms of the space. The one friend on trail who I know who has one likes it as a seat and the ease of it. However, he's thinking about getting rid of it just because there's not enough space in it for the amount of food he is eating. And the last option I mentioned is the Ursack, which I actually just ordered and have decided to switch to. It is, I would say, an in-between of the bear canisters and just the regular dry stuff sacks. It's a sack that's made out of Kevlar, so bears aren't able to tear into it. It is a little heavier and a little less pliable than a sack, than a regular dry sack, so there's some added weight there. And instead of just having it free sitting on the ground like a bear can, it needs to be tied to a tree. I'm willing to take the weight penalty for it. The size is quite large, pretty similar to the bag that I have now, so not worried about that constraint. And I think tying it to a tree about eye level will be a lot easier than actually having to hang my food. I don't know anybody who's had an issue with them, but I have read that bears can still attack them. Even though they can't actually get into them, they can squish your food. So worst case scenario, there might be a morning I wake up and all of my Snickers are squished, but you're never too far from town or from other trail friends if you do need food for a day. So gonna try it out and see how it goes. It's town day, which means town food. Also, there's rumors that there's trail magic leading right into town. I think I'm going to put on my clean socks and underwear for this occasion. Double lunch town food. I made it to station 19E, and the hostel is pretty awesome. There's a bar, restaurant, a cool game hangout room, so we decided to stay for the day. I also made the commitment / mistake / night that I'm really excited for move, and posted to Instagram that for every beer I'm bought at this hostel, I will hike a mile tomorrow. So far, it's 14 beers and 14 miles tomorrow. Got 12 hours to do it, and the drinks are still pouring in, so I'm gonna go get to work on some drinking. It begins number 4, and I've been demoted to plastic. What the fuck was that?
Oh boy.
Does it count if I spill close to it?
No, that's too much.
I don't know what number this is, but I'm doing my best. I've determined that my friends are more generous than my drinking abilities. I don't know how many beers I drank last night, but I'll admit it's not the 54 that were purchased. I woke up on this massage table, so I'm gonna go find my tent and hike as many miles as I can to make up for these beers. Getting a quick resupply just for 2 days since we're pretty close to Hampton. Mood. I am feeling the beer this morning, but luckily some other things are working in my favor. The hostel had a really great all-you-can-eat breakfast today, from biscuits and gravy and pancakes to fresh fruit. They also had a resupply right at the hostel, so I didn't need to run into town to grab anything. The stretch of trail that I'm doing today is meant to be meandery, whatever that means. It hasn't really felt that way so far, but it is a beautiful day, so starting to hydrate and perk up. I've got a lot of miles to do. Some of these views in Tennessee are insane. We crossed out of the last North Carolina bit, so it's Tennessee all the way to Virginia. 400 miles down. Found a nice spot to sit and take a break. The days that have a ton of water on trail are always the best. She loses her steak. She finds a steak on the ground. She makes pasta, stirs it with found steak.
You forgot the part where I lost my spoon.
Lost her spoon. The definition of hiker trash. 18.9. That is the number of miles I was able to do while aggressively hungover yesterday. Throughout the 12-hour marathon, I like to think that's probably the number of beers that I actually drank, and the rest of the 54 from you lovely people went to some very appreciative hikers. So I've seen trail magic in a lot of forms so far on the trail, anywhere from people actually doing maintenance work on the trail to offering free rides or shuttles into town for hikers. And the favorite seems to be when you come up to a crossing and there's just a big table set up, from, you know, sunscreen and bug spray and sanitizer to swapping out your smart water bottles and getting more toilet paper, even fuel, and usually a whole smorgasbord of food and drinks and beer. So that's another way that hikers supplement their diets, is the trail magic from the trail angels. But last night it was a lot of fun to do the virtual trail magic with you all. So thank you again for that. Quick 15 miles today. The terrain looks like it's going to be absolutely beautiful. Tons of water, walking into Hampton, Tennessee, which has a special place in my heart because Boots Off is where I first learned about the Appalachian Trail last summer. So really excited to get there tonight and for today's hike. Passing the 420 mile marker on 419. Probably will be a different scene here tomorrow. Taking a break from the inclines of the day, walking through a cool rock corridor. The ground here also feels really good on my feet. It's like soft and squishy like a gym floor. Playing Hop Rocks all the way back down to the water. It was a cool way up, going right back down. Casual beach. Today really is the best. Last climb into Hampton. Up Pound Mountain, which is meant to be a rough one. Pond Mountain. Made it to Lake Watauga. Classic town food run. One man, 12 burgers, apple pie, shake, french fries, additional sandwiches including fish. Will he vomit? And chicken. It does not stop. Even the showers here at Boots Off have a special touch to them. Some custom art that they spent some time doing so you can shower with naked Jesus. After that beautiful sunny day full of all that water, I got to walk into Boots Off, which holds a very special place in my heart. It's where I first learned about the AT last summer, so I got my picture in front of the sign now as a thru hiker, which was fun to put side by side with my picture last year, the day I learned about the AT, just as a day hiker. So it's a ton of fun walking in, getting to see the same staff that were here last year, catch up with some friends over a bonfire. But then even more fun was yesterday. The weather was just as beautiful, 70, sunny, not a cloud in the sky, and we got to Aquablaze. So the plan was to kayak for 10 miles, which covers about 21 miles of the AT along the lake. Initially, I was going to skip those miles and count the kayaking as the hike, but it was way too much fun. It did not feel like sport. We hung out for a picnic and some drinks, put in some paddling. It was a great day, but I decided it doesn't actually count as miles. So this morning I bid Boots Off adieu, and we'll be heading out to hike those 21 miles. no more sun in the sky. It's actually meant to get very cold today. There's talk of snow and rain, so we'll see how it goes. That is all for this week. You can like this video, subscribe to my channel for more updates, and feel free to throw any questions in the comments, whether it's about the food from this week or anything else on the trail that I can cover in future videos. So we will cap off this week with a photo montage from kayaking brought to you by White Claw.